see the harm in trying, so let's go ahead and download that one. I'll also switch to some of these tabs at some point, but let's just see what we can find. This is very interesting because it has, if it'll open up, sometimes I need to use my finger. It has this lens flare on the top as well as this kind of chromatic searched selfie, you can pick a skin tone range, which is very interesting. Maybe that's useful if you're looking for character images or inspiration. You can pick a range of skin tones. I don't know, I had never noticed this before, but it's very interesting, and I can see how it would be very useful. Billie Eilish and Lil Nas X. I love that picture. It's not very accurate though, as you can see. I picked the darkest one, and they're not all dark skin tone ranges, but maybe it's a newer feature. So let's just look at all and see what we can see. I really love Pinterest, you guys. It's just so helpful to, I think that's Margot Robbie. Is this Margot Robbie? Yes, it is, okay. I know my celebrities. This one's very, very yellow, very monochromatic. Kendall Jenner. Let's try this one right here. It has these pretty purples. I hope that that comes through in the palette, but it might not. Procreate is kind of weird sometimes. I enjoy taking the palettes from photos. It's fun to do, and sometimes you can get inspiration from looking at the photos. I'm just looking at similar photos of people or women posing in front of mirrors outside. It's a pretty cute idea for a selfie. This one's pretty. It's mostly just green and blue, but maybe I'll see what I get. It's a really cute photo. So let's go back to my main search results for selfie. I thought that was Dua Lipa, but I don't think it is Dua Lipa. Or is it? Wait, this is Dua Lipa. Why does she look different in that picture? That picture looks more like her, but that one I was unsure of. Yes, okay. These are all just pictures of Dua Lipa. Woman crush. Ideas you might love. I guess people use Pinterest as inspiration for their selfies. That's really cute. Taylor Swift. Alright, well, let's move on to why does this say RuPaul and it's a picture of Lana. RuPaul revealed a face full of freckles and a rare makeup-free TikTok. That is Lana Del Rey. Okay. Lana recently released a new album called Blue Banisters, and I feel like that album title is so beautiful. It's kind of relaxing. Blue Banisters, Blue Banisters. I love this picture of her. Why don't we save this picture of Lana and her Venice bitch let's name it Clover, because I think with all the greens, it reminds me of a clover patch. And our last photo is a photo of Lana, which I can already tell is going to be very muted. Yeah, I kind of just saved that one for fun, but that's what that palette looks like. I don't see myself using it at all. Very, very dull. So let's just take a look at the palettes we found tonight. We found Wild Berry, Vintage, Lavender, Christmas, and Clover. If I had to pick a favorite, just looking at them, it would probably be Wild Berry. As far as the one I probably will use the most, I might lean more towards Christmas, just because these colors are more familiar to me. I don't often work with purples, especially these very, very vibrant purples. However, I will try to convince myself to again step out of my comfort zone and work with colors I'm not used to. But I work a lot with these reds and golds and greens, so this kind of comes a bit more naturally to me. Some of these other ones, like lavender, vintage, I'll have to see after a while, and clover, I'll have to see after a while if I even use them at all. Only time will tell. So, thank you all for watching this video. Oopsies. Thank you for watching this video. Oh gosh. I enjoyed making this video, and I hope that you did too. I'd love to do something similar again another day. Or if you have any other things that you would like to see with the iPad, any other ideas,